Well, it looks like we have a problem. And I'm gonna have to fix this at home. This isn't my machine, this is somebody else's. It's got a bad hard drive. But we have a replacement hard drive. You will need some tools. You will need a small Phillips and small flat screwdriver. We'll disconnect that. Unfortunately, on this model Dell, which happens to be an Inspiron N5110, which is made in China, of course, Dell, in their infinite wisdom, decided that they're going to bury the hard drive completely inside the system. One might think that it's going to be right under this cover over here, but that's not to be. So, in order to repair this machine, here's what we have to do. First, disconnect all the peripherals. This happens to be for a mousey. There's no reason to stick that in a USB 3 port when you got a USB 2 on the other side where it doesn't matter, but it's not mine. There's a card reader. You got to take the little blank out, so you just push that and take that out. Flip her upside down. So this is a disassembly and replacement of hard drive on a Dell Inspiron N5110. Move the clips and take out the battery. Now we have 13 screws to remove. Fortunately, all of these are the same size, so you really don't have to be too particular about grouping them or putting them in any sort of fashion. You just take them out. There we are. A little later there will be some smaller size screws, but there's only 5 of them. Okay, this is of course with your small Phillips. This is the 13th screw. This one is captive. And you just pop that cover off and take it aside. Optical drive comes right out. You just slide it out, put that aside, and now you flip it back over. Open it up, and now we have to remove the keyboard. You'll need your flat blade for this. There are a series of clips here on the keyboard. You have 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4 on this model. And basically what you're going to do is push in on the clip. Do not slip with the screwdriver and scratch the little plastic chrome shit, because then it's all scratched and nobody likes that. So you just kind of get in the groove there and just push it in. And I like to put my fingernail in there to kind of help pop it up just a bit. It doesn't matter. Sometimes you'll miss the clip and the keyboard will pop back down. But you just push in on those. And then try to get in here with your fingernail. Sometimes you can go with the screwdriver and pop up your keyboard. You pull it forward towards the screen. It's a little tight. Flip it up, upside down. Now you got to disconnect the cable. You just flip up the little plastic thing and it pops out. Set the keyboard aside. 3 more flat panel connector cables. FPCs, whatever they're called. Disconnect that. That's for the power button. This one is for the touchpad. This one is for these buttons here that nobody ever uses. And now it looks like we have about 4 screws. You'll need your Phillips again for that. So we'll take out those. These are the same size, so you can just put them in your same screw pile. Oh, a line came by. Very nice. 2, 3, 4 screws. Okay, that should be it. I don't see any other screws. So now you stick your fingers in the slot here where the DVD drive went. Stick your fingers in here and just rip off the top cover. Now we have to remove the LCD screen. And I already see that we have a small issue. If you notice right here, that is disconnected. It shouldn't be that way. This was sent to Dell previously, and apparently Dell didn't do a good job putting it back together, because that should have been connected. Anyway, here's how you do it. You disconnect your wireless connectors. You'll have to disconnect that and that. And over here, this is the cable that connects to the LCD. You just get your thumbs in there, using your thumbnails, just kind of push on the connector, and you can work it out like that. Alright, and now you take out the screws for the screen. These are all, again, the same size once again. So you can just put these with the, well, we dropped that one in there. We'll get it. Doesn't matter because we're taking it all apart. Okay, now that you have those 4 screws out, make sure you have all the wires disconnected. Lift the LCD off and set that aside. Now you're going to remove this trim piece. It just kind of pops up and you just kind of work it out like that. Set that aside. And now there are a couple of other things to disconnect. One is, I believe, this is the Bluetooth module. Just put your fingernail under that and pick it up. The cable for the speakers, you just work that out with your index fingernails and take that out. And now we have 5 screws to remove, which are here. These are the smaller screws, so set them aside separately. 2, 3. Sometimes you don't need to remove these 2 screws, but I do as a matter of course. If I don't end up needing to remove them, I just put them back later. These boards are plugged together. It's just a press fit. So you just kind of lift up while holding the underneath board down. Sometimes it's tight. There we go. And you now lift up the main board and remove it. While I have that out, the screw I dropped is right in there, so let me just get that out. There he is. Okay. You can use the base of the machine as a nice little workspace. And here's the hard drive to replace. So we have a couple screws here. These are also small screws. I tend to keep them separate from the other 5, but I believe they are actually the same size, so it doesn't really matter. There's 2 screws, so you take those out and just wiggle the hard drive out. You can put that aside. Now you have to transfer over the bracket. So I'm just going to take the new drive out of the thing here. Save the silica gel for something else. Put the new drive next to the old one so you can match up the same orientation of the connectors in the same place and that, so you don't forget how it goes. And these 4 screws, 2 on each side, there are 2 separate brackets. You just do them one at a time. Okay, that. Slide that out of the way. By the way, you should be wearing an anti-static wrist strap and not do this on a tablecloth, but because I'm a ninja, I don't need that shit. Then we put these screws in, turn it 180 degrees, and take out the other side. Okay. Set the old drive aside. You can put it in the anti-static bag, but it's bad anyway, so. Fortunately, this error was more of a transient type thing where it told you in time rather than actually telling you, oh, there's a hard drive problem after it already failed. So in this case, we're lucky and was able to save the data on that. Okay, brackets are transferred. So just pick that up. Come back here. Now you'll notice the 2 connectors here that lines up with this here in case you forget. You just slide it back in. Your 2 screws you had separate go back to secure the hard drive back to the main board. So that's in. Oh, there we go. Okay. Now at this point, some people actually take this little board off. It's the same press fit connector as we had there. I generally leave it on and just try to kind of weasel it in there. So you kind of have to hook it in the back first, like that, and lay it down. You have to make sure you get the sound cable out of the way. And then you just kind of work it down until you'll kind of know when it sits in there right. And when it does, the two little standoffs are going to line up perfectly with the holes here. And you just push down to secure that. We're now going to replace the 5 screws. Make sure that this small daughter board is connected to the main board. Still, you can just see the standoffs right through the screw holes. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to reconnect the speaker cable, audio cable, whatever you want to call it. Bluetooth module just press fits into that in this direction, although it looks like it'll stick out from the machine. It doesn't. You just got to line it up. These tend to be a little bit of a problem sometimes to get them lined up, but that just kind of goes in like that. And now we do everything basically in reverse order. We're going to take the trim piece, clean all the schmutz off of it, because sometimes that happens. And we'll just get this in. Just kind of snap it in. Everything looks nice and lined up on the sides here. So we're good. And now we're going to put the LCD screen back on the unit. The pins on the screen here, or these posts, whatever, fit into the holes here and here. Sometimes you'll end up with these broken and you kind of have to have somebody hold the screen for you. You just kind of wiggle it until it fits in there. Make sure these cables are not pinched under that, and the screen will sit there provided your hinge standoffs are in good shape. 4 screws will secure, and these are the standard size screws from everything else. 4 screws will secure the LCD back to the base assembly. I recommend that you plug the LVDS cable, the LCD cable, back in. LVDS, in case it's on jeopardy tonight, by the way, stands for low voltage differential signaling. And you just kind of work it until it feels right and push it in with your fingernails. That's in. And now you reattach the wireless connectors. These are marked. That one's not filled in, that one is, so that one's the black wire. So you just kind of put it over it. These are a little fidgety as well. I may have some trouble. There's one. And 2. That's that. Okay. Palm rest assembly. Put it in the back end in first, like that. Push down everywhere along the perimeter. This side and back here, and just kind of mush it down till it goes. I recommend you next reconnect your cables before putting the screws in, because if you put the screws in, you may forget to reconnect these cables. So do that first. You just slide them in under the thing and push down the little keeper. And these are a little fidgety as well, so sometimes you have to just work with switch hands off and do that kind of stuff till you can get it in there. Just be careful with them. They'll go if you just go nice and easy with them. So we'll fit that in, put that down. There are 4 screws for this. So we got, and these are all again the standard regular size screws. 2, 3, 4, and your keyboard goes back in. We'll lift that back up because sometimes that can go back down. This cable is a little tricky because it looks like it just goes in, but on this model it goes this way. You have to flip it upside down and upside down again. Sometimes these are a real pain to get in there. but it looks like I just got it first try. A lot of times you'll have to play with it. You know it's right when the white line just lines up with that. Now once you have that, the little thing sticking out here, you just kind of slide it back in there. Make sure it's pushed back all the way. Snap, 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 and push down on the sides because sometimes there's little catches for that. Flip her back over and start replacing screws. You will sometimes have to hold that little back trim piece in order to get the corner screws in. Occasionally it doesn't want to stay and you just got to hold it. It doesn't matter really how you put them together. Some people like to do in an X pattern, and it really doesn't matter with something like this. The screws generally all line up. Twelfth screw. Leave these pieces back. Your optical drive slides in. There is no screw for that, but rather there's a protrusion on the cover that holds it in place. The last screw. You can reinstall your battery. Lock it. Always lock it. Don't leave it unlocked. We're now going to reinstall the SD card blank. It just pops in there and just push it in to click. And this is going to go back in there. And we have successfully replaced the hard drive. We'll just go into the BIOS. I believe it'll show you. See, it even powers on. I'm just that good. And let us see. Fixed hard drive, Western Digital, 750 gig. Have a nice day. Okay, I have created a USB flash drive of the recovery media prior to replacing the hard drive, as you're just seeing. There's all the stuff there still. And we're all set, so we're going to do a factory recovery. It says deletes data and resets all partitions. We'll click on next. This will recover your extra space drive to the factory condition. Thank you, China. Do you confirm? Yes, I do. Click on next. Your computer is about to be restored. All data currently on your computer will be deleted and replaced with your selected full system backup. Only the C partition, that should be capitalized, but we'll let that one slide, will be affected. Other partitions will not be impacted, may be affected. If an emergency file and folder backup was created, it will still be saved in the location you selected. So basically, it just told you a whole bunch of shit, now you're not sure. Yeah, continue. Just do what I want. Next, formatting, and it's going to go through that and reinstall, and we will come back once I have the system at the UBI out-of-box experience screen. Well, it's a little bit later now, and here we are at the out-of-box experience. I'm going to run through this. We'll hit next. I'm going to look you away while I put the name in, because you're not to see that kind. I'll hit next. No password. The user, whoopsies, the user can set that up later. I'm using the mouse with my left hand, so I'm a little jiggly with it. Recommended is fine. We are in the Eastern time zone, and I'm not worried about the time and date right now. The date is correct, the time is quite off, so we'll just bump that up. Oh, there's all kinds of networks. All kinds of networks. Look at that. Full signal strength. Unsecured network. Oh shit. Next, home network. And that's pretty much the deal. This is going to connect to my network and apply the settings. And we're just going to skip the home group thing because we don't need that. And Windows is going to finalize the settings and welcome us to Windows. Loading. It's preparing the desktop. And that is pretty much all there was to it, as you saw in the video before about how to replace the hard drive. As long as you have your recovery media ready or a copy of Windows to install and your appropriate drivers, it isn't typically that big of a deal. And fortunately, like I explained, the hard drive in this unit did not fail before giving that error or something like that. It gave the error, it gave the error but still allowed it to function. This step always takes a long time, especially on a first boot up, instead of just creating a new user account. It is still loading. And I know this is super exciting. Don't buy a machine without a hard drive indicator light, because then you have no idea if it's actually stalled or what the deal is. And I got to restart to apply these changes. We're going to do that later. And this is all fine. We'll just hit finish. It's going to sit there forever and keep loading. It's going to personalize these settings. It just switched into the arrow theme. And it's still personalizing settings. It's loading away. We have a storm brewing outside. Another big snowstorm. Something else we need. This is terribly exciting. But we're still loading. Just gotta hang on and wait. And we have a desktop. We have sound. And now it wants to set up this crap. So what I'm going to do is just tell it goodbye. Next thing you do is check Device Manager. You can just right click on My Computer and hit Properties. And Device Mangler, just to ensure that well, there's updates and all kinds of stuff. There's no bangs, so we're good. Now just apply all the Windows updates.